Hi, and welcome to Bleeding Cool Movie Review. We're going to take a look at today the Fantastic Four. Now, if you're online, you see anything out there, you'll probably notice that there's a huge vitriolic backlash right now for the film out there. People seem to be really hating on Josh Trank and Fox for putting this film together. The box office is nosediving. Originally, it was estimated at about 45 to 50 million, and now they're saying that it'll be lucky to do 27 million. So it's becoming a bomb, and I think we all saw it coming. And I'm not sure why it wasn't stopped, but maybe that's what made it worse. I think in a lot of ways, people talk about. There's rumors right now that the studio came in and hijacked the film and changed the ending, and I don't know how many of those rumors are true. I think we'll find out more as things go along, but overall, there is no good buzz about this film. That said, I happily paid my money to go see it yesterday morning, and because I'm a huge comic fan, especially comic movie fan. I've read the Fantastic Four since I was a kid, so I wanted to see this movie. Now, the film itself is an interesting take on it. It looks like what Trank was trying to do was create a younger, more Ultimates version of the Fantastic Four, and that's not a bad thing. I mean, it works well with the Ultimates, and it is a newer audience, and a lot of people, the Fantastic Four don't have the name recognition as, say, the Avengers do now, or X-Men or Spider-Man. So they can play with it a little, but perhaps they went too far on this. They wanted to make... It felt like Trank was trying to make a sequel to Chronicle, his first film. And that's not what the Fantastic Four is. So it just felt like it was all set up and no payoff. Every little thing from Reed shooting a car into the ultimate dimension, and that never paid off. Ben Grimm's brother beating him as a child, that never really paid off. It just seemed to turn Ben into a bully. I mean, there was a lot of setup for things, a lot of just build up for it, but never the payoff. It felt like bad writing. Now, again, if the rumors are true that Fox came in and took away the third half of the film and cut out a bunch of scenes, then it's excusable. I think it'd be awesome to see an actual script for the film, as Trank was going to make it. But overall, it just felt in a lot of ways like a Netflix TV series. Like we were watching the first episode and it was all build up and no payoff at all, and then somebody slapped on an ending just to make it a movie. So that's kind of how it feels like to me. And one of the big selling points of the film was the cast. Miles Teller as Mr. Fantastic, or Reed Richards. We never actually get their code names. So Miles Teller as Reed Richards, Jamie Bell as Ben Grimm, Kate Mara as Sue Storm, and Michael B. Jordan as Johnny Storm. But the main thing about the Fantastic Four is that they're a family. Ben and Reed are inseparable. They're connected. Johnny and Sue and Reed, and even the dichotomy between Johnny and Ben and the way they tease each other and stuff like that. That's a crucial part of what makes these characters work in the comics, and we don't get that here. There really is no connection. I mean, there's supposed to be an unrequited romance between Doom and Sue, and it's never really there. It's more something that's mentioned but never worked on. There's no flirtation. There's no inappropriate comments between Victor and Sue. I mean, he never makes any kind of comments. There's a moment that it looks like he's jealous, and it just doesn't go anywhere. So again, lots of setup, no payoff. And then there's a missing year in this film. Basically, when they come back, Reed escapes. He's gone for a year. In that time, Ben becomes a soldier and has 43 confirmed kills. Johnny starts on the path to being a soldier. They learn their powers. Reed is on the run. He's doing all this stuff to stay out of sight. He's doing, that seems like it would be the interesting movie. What the hell happened in that year? Because the build up for it is, again, no payoff. We get nothing. There's no real action moments. Nothing really happens in the film. And then we're told about this year where Ben is doing all these secret missions and Reed is on the run. It's like, there's a movie I'd like to have seen. And that's another one of the things that gets me, is that Ben doesn't seem like the type that would become a killer, that would just blindly follow orders. Now, the Ben in this movie does, because that's all he does. He has a kid, he hooks on to Reed as a friend and does anything Reed needs. And that's it. He's one of those loyal to a fault, which I can see what he was trying to go for there, what Trank was trying to go for there, but it doesn't really work, and it doesn't make sense when everything happens and Ben ends up blaming Reed for what happens to them when it wasn't Reed's fault. Reed was just one of the guys that put this project together. It wasn't Reed's experiment. It was Reed and Victor and Franklin's dorm, and they all worked on this together. So it's all of them. I mean, all Reed did was call his buddy and go, "Hey, let's, we're drunk. Let's go dimension hopping." And Ben was dumb enough to go. So it's kind of Ben's fault for not saying no. But I don't think they got Ben right at all. And even the look of the character, the no pants thing is oddly disturbing, or oddly distracting. The voice doesn't feel like, it doesn't have enough gravitas for it, and then the eyes just look kind of creepy in there too. So the CG there, and the CG in other parts of the film too, were just kind of weak. You'd spend, they'd have some scenes that looked really good, and then there's scenes that when Reed is fighting some guys in the jungle, it looks like an episode from the Sci-Fi Channel. I mean, it's just low budget special effects. So I'm not sure how all that works out. But the real biggest problem I saw here was Dr. Doom, because it wasn't Doom. I mean, Doom is a dictator. He is a genius. He builds his own armor. And that's the basis for him. And Hollywood seems to be obsessed with making him part of the Fantastic Four's origin, that they all get powers at the same time. Well, Dr. Doom doesn't have any powers. He's brilliant, but it's a suit of armor. He's Iron Man, just a bad version of Iron Man. So why do they keep insisting on jamming him into the Fantastic Four's origin, just like they did with the Jessica Alba version? And, they don't need to power him up. He's a genius, and he could, perhaps what they ought to do with the Fantastic Four is stop trying to shoehorn Doom into the origin story. Not just the origin, but the actual first film. Use somebody else. And, I mean, why did we need Doom here? He was an add-on. It felt like he was slapped into the ending, that the ending didn't fit with the rest of the movie anyway. And he just got so overpowered that when they did defeat him, you can't really figure out why. It's like, so they made Ben invisible? That was the big thing? So basically the big problems here are, it's not a Fantastic Four movie. It might have been the start of a Fantastic Four Netflix series, if that's how Marvel is doing with it, but it's not a Fantastic Four movie. And I never quite understood the negativity towards the previous ones, the Tim Story versions. Michael Chiklis was a very good Ben Grimm. Chris Evans was fine as Johnny Storm. Jessica Alba, Reed Richards was believable. You felt like they were a family. You felt like the interpersonal squabbles and stuff that you expect with the Fantastic Four. You get none of that here. You get just four characters that are pulled together because of a scientific experiment, and they get superpowers. But they're not a family. They're not a team. It's not the Fantastic Four. There are so many ways, just from a writer's point of view, I could see trying to make this better, but I can't say it doesn't deserve all the negativity it's getting. It's not a good movie. And the fact that Trank has come out and started trying to back away. He did a tweet saying that this wasn't his movie, and then he deleted the tweet. Or at least, yeah. He insists that the critics would have liked his version of the movie. And I can't necessarily agree or disagree with that, because I didn't see anything in the first part that got me excited to want to see what he would have done. You know, I think it's time to let the Fantastic forego for a little while. You know, maybe if Fox wants to give him back to Marvel or make a deal with Marvel like Sony did with Spider-Man, I think it could be a good idea. But maybe just let it sit for a while. And then when you do decide to come back to it, make it fun, but don't make it silly. Don't make it campy. Look at what Marvel's doing, what they're doing right. It's not a magical formula. It's a formula that you can see in 12 films. So somebody should be able to get it right. They're good characters. They have good powers. They're visually stunning. And this film fails at all of that. They're not the Fantastic Four. These are not the characters. There are no characters here. They're just 4, 5 people surviving. Yeah. It's not a good movie. All right. Well, thanks for watching this video. Feel free to comment down below, and enjoy the films.